Little story about why it's important to check your blood pressure and also make sure that you're using equipment correctly. My daughter's in choir and it's raining, so we're not walking. But anyway, I had my annual physical. I've been going to this guy longer than I've known my husband. And if you remember, about a year ago was when we figured out, oh, hey, my blood pressure had been tracking high, came off oral birth control, and things got better, and then realized I was diving headfirst into menopause. Anywho, went back today. My blood pressure was just a little bit high. It was like, I don't know, like 130/89, which is a little high for me. And he's like, hey, what's going on with that? And like, I don't think it's been that. And there was a couple other numbers he kind of went over, and he's like, well, maybe it's still the estrogen. And I'm like, is it? I'm like, I thought that was primarily just oral, not the transdermal. I need to go dive into that and double check, but I do know that oral goes through the liver and transdermal does not, and so they do act differently. He's just a GP, so we're going to let him have his thing. He's like, oh, the only one that doesn't do that is vaginal estrogen. I'm like, yeah, I know, because it's not systemic, but like how you take it is different. I'll get back to you on that. Anyway, I digress. So I had another appointment that I had to do today, and I had like a headache, and it took forever, and I was hungry because I did fasting blood work. And so I get home after this other appointment I had this afternoon, and I have this wrist blood pressure machine, and I was like, let me just see what it is. And it's like something insane, like 200 over like 120. I'm like, oh crap, this is bad. And I took it again, and like it only started going down a little bit. So I'm like, all right, let me just lay down on the couch and see what happens. And it's not getting better. I'm like, oh crap. And I have this headache. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have a stroke, right? So kids get home from school, and I'm like, wait, we've got another blood pressure cuff, like a legit one that goes on your arm, not this wrist thing. And of course we don't have the batteries. And so, I go to my office. I don't have them at my office. I go over to Walgreens. They have them. Almost get in an accident. That's a side story because somebody can't follow turn signals. Not me, by the way. Get home and get the batteries in, take this other machine, and it's like, oh, you're like 115 over like 70. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of more like it. And so I took it again, same deal. And so what I realized is the wrist one, you're supposed to have it so that it's on that side, and I had it flipped the other way. And when I flipped it the way that the directions said, my blood pressure was fine. When I had it flipped the other way, it was not fine, and I thought I was having a stroke. And I literally remember driving around to Walgreens to get batteries, being like, oh my God, I'm going to have a stroke. How is this possible? Like, I'm healthy, like, I exercise, I eat reasonably well, like, I'm a healthy person. I'm going to have a stroke. I'm not going to have a stroke. So here's the thing. Track your blood pressure, but also read the directions on the equipment that you use. There can be variances between how you take it, like the little wrist one. I use that just as a quick one. Make sure it's turned the right way because you can get different numbers, and have a way to back it up. And there's great automatic ones, just arm cuffs that you can buy. They're very inexpensive. You can always, go to CVS or Walgreens and stick your arm in that thing. That'll give you something too. But anyway, long story short, and you learned this lesson last year, was because I was really good, except for those first kind of couple of years of the pandemic. I was really good about getting my physicals every year. And like I said, the guy I've been going to, I've known him longer than my husband. And my husband and I have been together 20 years. And so we have a lot of data tracking back a really long time, which makes it easier. But I've got really consistent blood pressure readings, and you can see as it was kind of going up. And I think that's really where the oral estrogen was making an issue for me. And even it's really interesting. I just saw the blood work before I hopped on here. Some of my blood work is better from this time last year, since I came off the oral estrogen. What does all that mean, big picture? You know, can you generalize it and say, oh, everybody's going to do this? No, you can't. But I think it's really interesting when you make a medical decision and say, hey, I'm going to stop this one particular medication to help with XYZ, and it's a really kind of vetted decision, what happens with other things. So long story short, check your blood pressure. I don't care how old you are. Know what your blood pressure should be. Know when it's changing. Write it down, because we don't remember. And I have all of it tracked from last year. I have all of it from years past that I can go back and look. I don't have to rely on, oh, I think it was that. Know what it's supposed to be. Use your equipment correctly. I feel like an idiot, but I think it's a really good PSA. Read the directions. I didn't have my reading glasses on, so I didn't read the directions. But again, know that, you know, heart health for women that are 30s, 40s, 50s, like, we're a risk factor, and estrogen can play a role in that, and how our body processes it and all that fun stuff. And it's just not something that's really talked about. And I think also too, the barriers of getting care. I just posted something the other day, and this happened to me at the eye doctor. I had an appointment scheduled back to back with my daughter because my computer auto populated everything it put in my office phone instead of my cell phone. And of course, they would call my office phone to confirm the appointment. I didn't answer the phone. And because I didn't confirm the appointment via phone, even though I did by computer, they canceled my appointment. And so to get 2 appointments, this whole day was appointments for me. And I think that's a really hard thing too, is when we do take the time to check on ourselves and go see providers, it takes a whole lot of time and effort, because we're also taking care of everybody else. So know your blood pressure, know how to use your equipment, have that equipment available so you can double check it, have providers that you feel like you can trust and have a good history with, write numbers down, and know that heart health is incredibly important. If you have any questions about that, I can kind of point you in the right direction as much as I can, but definitely something to think about that people wouldn't necessarily think is related to the work that I do, but it's also incredibly important to monitor our patients as well. So let me know your questions about blood pressure, estrogen, all that fun stuff, tracking it. Happy to answer any questions about my personal situation, and happy to teach you how to use your blood pressure cuff. Kind of an idiot. Anyway.